Noon. This is Mario. Beloved, let me reach deep into my heart and soul to express my profound gratitude for yet another afternoon, Tuesday afternoon of information and enlightenment, naturally and deliciously flavored by Armstrong ice cream. True that, beloved. Armstrong ice cream, in so many ways, from my perspective, my point of view, Armstrong ice cream represents our African humanities. And before I get myself too carried away with it, let me remember, because I don't want the general to have to discipline me for forgetting. So, yes, beloved, at 3:30, we will be pausing to allow for beautiful Aisha to take center stage. Why? Because she will be prepared to complement the correct answer to the crucial history question of the day. So, we want to make sure we remind one another that the Tuesday afternoon, 3:30, crucial history question is on our schedule. But, beloved, I guess it's conversation that I've been having and bringing me up to date because, beloved, I did not hear, much less see, Governor Albert Bryan Jr. State of the Territories address. I did not. But I overheard conversations and was even made a part of some telling me what they thought about the governor's final address to the people of the Virgin Islands as a well, state of the territory platform. As you may or may not be aware, I have from the 1970s, because that's where it started. I have been critical of this thing they call the chain of office that the governor of the Virgin Islands has been legislatively mandated to wear around his neck on ceremonial occasions like the State of the Territory address. And it so happens, beloved, in case you like me and you ain't need a seal here, the State of the Territory address, I was told by more than one person that the governor did not, that's right, the governor did not wear the chain of office for this State of the Territory address. And I was exposed to different point of view because, like I said, I was just listening because I didn't experience it, beloved. But I heard comments to the fact that, well, it was his last State of the Territory, so he didn't care. He didn't need nobody vote. You don't have to answer to anyone as to why he did not wear it. And so that it is of little, if any, consequence at all, because he is on his way out. He's already been elected to a second term, and well, the State of the Territory address kind of the punctuation mark that verifies that he is now in his last year of tenure as chief executive governor of the Virgin Islands. And so I was somewhat amused, at the comments that I've been exposed to as people. I can't say people because more like maybe 3 or 4 different individuals that I heard with this. But all seem to be of the same disposition that the governor feels free, relieved, and totally untethered to the legislative attachment to this chain of office thing that, well, by not wearing demonstrates to us that he clearly was aware that there had been some attack, criticism, and just wonderment that our government, specifically our chief executive, could be so belittled by having this chain of office clearly indicate our inferiority as a colonial object of 7 different powers. United States of America being the 7th, which in itself just adds to the indignity of the occasion when we observe that it's not 7 different nationalities that were being acknowledged, but 8. Now, the average person might not take notice of the fact that, hey, the governor is acknowledging 8 different nationalities. I mean, the Virgin Islands is the center of this whole thing, but then you got 4 nationalities clearly acknowledged on each side of this chain of office that is yoked around his neck. How come? Well, beloved, as I have said over the years, I could only attribute it to the asymmetry, the lack of balance, okay? The lack of symmetry that 7 represents. And instead of having 4 nationalities on one side and 3 on the other, well, our brilliant governmental leaders chose to add an 8th nationality to add the symmetry and the balance to the chain of office so that the government office would have a balanced chain of office with 4 nationalities on either side of his chest and the Virgin Islands in the middle. But then, as is obvious, you would ask, well, Mario, could they just simply just add an 8th nationality, even though we were colonized by the 7? I mean, that in itself is historic and most definitely notable for anybody's record that yes, this place called the Virgin Islands of the United States has been under 7 different nationalities since its recorded history. But, beloved, it just doesn't add up that instead of 7, we have 8. And right, that's a problem. That's the sermon. Beloved, it's problematic because who or what is number 8? It's not like the audience and every pair of eyes that take notice of the chain of office around the governor's neck. It ain't like they are sufficiently informed to immediately pick up that he has 8 nationalities around his neck when it should only be 7. But for them and those of us who, over the years, have been hearing voices like mine, you will come to notice that, yeah, nobody else married so. We only had 7 colonizers, not 8, 7. And so why it is that the chain of office around the governor's neck indicates that we had 8 colonizers. Again, who and what is this number 8? Where it come from? Now, beloved, the obvious rationale, the logical one is that hey, it just doesn't look as good with 7 as it does with 8. You know, the 4 and 3 just doesn't set it up as well as 4 and 4 would. And I, for one, I understand that. We call it symmetry. Balance, in other words. And so you want the governor's appearance to be symmetrical, to be balanced. And so instead of having 3 colonizers on one side and 4 on the other, which is clearly half balance, well, you decided to add number 8. And that would correct the visual, the image, the symmetrical, half balance kind of issue that comes to too many eyesights looking at this thing and saying, hey, this 4 and 3 thing don't look too good at that. So when you put it to 4-on-4, well, like, hey, yeah. And for the most part, beloved, it is so appealing, apparently, that no question has been asked, at least publicly to my knowledge. No question has been asked as to, well, where this number 8 come from? What is it? Who is it? Again, beloved, we want to answer the question easily by saying, hey, is it Sheena Hafiz? And so it's obviously one of our colonizers that, for whatever reason, we've been keeping secret and not exposing. But as you can see, yes, indeed, beloved, not 7, but it is 8 colonizers that we were subject to over our history. Well, beloved, I need to tell you that we never had an 8th colonizer. No, we never did. It's still just 7. And we're still experiencing number 7, the United States of America. Yes, that is our number 7 colonizer. And beloved, I would not be the one to pronounce that there would never be an 8. I don't have that kind of patience. But I do know that we've only had 7. And the United States of America is number 7. Well, beloved, I certainly wish that that was the end of the story and the wheel bend and story end. Church out. But no, it's like, beloved, who or what is this number 8? You get up close to it, you could see that, yes, like the other 7, it clearly states the name of this would-be colonizer. Yes, beloved, just like he started out, it's with Spain and England and France and Holland and the Knights of Malta and Denmark and then the United States. That's only 7. Not only 7, that the total is 7. So, what is number 8? And beloved, if you get that opportunity, maybe you get the opportunity to get close enough to congratulate the governor, shake his hand, and you could take a peek at it. And Lord Harry the church. You know what it said? Yeah, Brandenburg. Brandenburg? What is Brandenburg? What you talk about? What is Brandenburg? That's what the thing said. Number 8 is Brandenburg. Brandenburg. Well, beloved, most people who get the opportunity to get that close to the governor while wearing the chain of office that could actually read the 8 colonizers that are supposedly around his neck. And you see that number 8 is Brandenburg. Well, beloved, if you ask me, I would say, well, Brandenburg was a German principality before Germany became a nation or an empire, some would say. The Brandenburg was supposed like one of the states, if you want to look at it from the perspective of the United States of America, it would be like one of the states that made up Germany. And so that before there was a Germany, there was a principality by the name of Brandenburg that has quite an illustrious history of its own. For most well informed people, you would know that the Brandenburgers were the colonizers, the would be settlers that perpetrated a genocide on the people of Southwest Africa that is today known as Namibia. Yes, beloved. The Brandenburgers, those were the people responsible for that genocide that it was 1904 or something like that. But beloved, that was long after they had made history in what was the Danish West Indies. You said, what? Were you telling me now that Brandenburg and Denmark were in it together? No, 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 no. I'm not saying that at all. Beloved, uh, Brandenburg was never part of Denmark or vice versa. But it so happens that the Brandenburgers operated the largest slave market in the Danish West Indies. You getting it now? Ah, so that's what we're talking about. That is precisely what we're talking about. That beloved, our government has in fact decided to use the largest slave traders in the history of the Danish West Indies as our eighth colonizer. For no other reason that we could see other than to add symmetry to the chain of office that would be hanging on the chest of our chief executive officer in this unincorporated territory of the Virgin Islands of the United States of America. And so, yes, beloved, our governor, by statute, has been forced to wear not just a tribute to the 7 colonizers we have experienced, and I should do it in the past tense because beloved number 7 is current and is still our colonizer as I speak. But that we would have the unmitigated gall to actually add the largest slave trader in the Danish West Indies, that we would add its name, Brandenburg, as what else? But as one of our colonizers, simply for the purpose of adding symmetry to our governor's chest. Well, beloved, all of that to say to you that you think it's like one of the people commented on it within my earsight this morning said that, beloved, it's because he don't have to face the voters again. This is his last year. So he could let Big Man know and refuse to wear the chain of office. What do you think, beloved? Because it seems like they are transferring the blame for this chain of office indignity. They transferred it on us, you and I, as if we had something to do with it. And so therefore, because the governor doesn't have to deal with us again, he doesn't have to face the electorate again, he could choose not to wear the chain of office and therefore well, to unlawfully have his state and the territory address bare chested. You tell me, beloved, I don't know. But this is what is being said, and I don't know what to make of it, beloved, other than that, well, certainly a good thing that our governor, elected by us, does not have to pay that kind of low life tribute to our colonizers by way of this chain of office thing or so. We're glad we don't have it. But I started out on this here because, beloved, what it brought to mind, for me, in my mind, was Armstrong ice cream. Because, you see, no one in any governmental office, or for that matter, anyone with any kind of a public platform, to the best of my knowledge, they don't pay tribute to African humanities. And that's why I just so strongly embrace Armstrong ice cream. And I'm ever so grateful that I have the opportunity to promote Armstrong ice cream because, beloved, that's what humanities are about. Humanities are about the principles and the values of our people. And by not acknowledging our African humanities, we continue to belittle ourselves in inferiority by constantly looking up to our colonizers as well, our superiors, and the ones that we should be curry favored with, making every attempt to imitate and to appease as loyal colonized subjects. But beloved, that's how I see it. That as descendants of Africa, we should still be holding to our African humanities. That we do have principles and values that are distinctly ours as descendants of Africa. Good afternoon.
Mighty Angel.
Super Dad.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. What you doing in cool? Man, I'll bring you all the way out here.
You have to come up there, man. Nice and cool.
You got that right. You got that right. The cool over here.
Most beautiful waterfall.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, welcome to Cahoon. Yes,
Right.
how you leave Western, man? I say, I kind of building you taking place down there, but I understand because I asked the question. I said, well, the governor in his address last night tell us, well, when we will have the opening of this AAA baseball stadium, as
That look like you're April 27.
okay.
The new elected
Okay.
governor, you know.
Okay. Makes sense. So you can leave it alone.
Yes.
All right.
He mentioned, so he is a pass close.
He's a pass close.
We went all the way out Puerto Rico, eastern Puerto Rico, and go,
What that is, yeah. Beloved, I hear that. I mean, but that's how it is when you live in the Western. It's a Town Bull. From Town Bull went to the Young. From the Young, we went to Map. From Map, we went to Albert Bryan Jr. And now we're going to the next one again. And we still know what was supposed to be a professional baseball stadium, coming to AAA.
You make it at AAA and Christmas guard and we said it not in the boots.
My son, that's a day and a half. What a day.
Are you hearing nothing? No.
Poor we son.
Funny thing is, right?
Hey.
When we look at it, when you have a contract with somebody, you mess up the contract.
Yeah.
The government have to pay, right?
Yeah, if you break the contract, you will. Oh, me.
Good. So now, he don't have to pay the government?
But you would think so?
Well, yeah, let me put it the right way. Because they, the drop off, or they take the money for the wall, remember the wall?
Yeah.
He ain't got his place well fixed up with a wall.
What that thing, yeah.
Right? So anyway, they take out $1 million by something out for the money. He want from them, right? Then he turned on, he said, Christmas, we are getting for Christmas. But he made 26 Christmas, he got 27 Christmas time, he even my day.
You have to wait.
Because Christmas guys are like,
don't come again.
I looking to come again.
Right.
Well, next for 26, I got to wish Alvin Marcus Milligan a happy birthday, my nephew.
All right.
The organist.
All right. Yes, man. The one and only Mr. Nobody could, running figures on the organist.
He been to some funeral to them,
But he always a call for that, Mr. Carls.
He married to the Leonor show.
What hit that?
Links for 26.
So what that you know?
Well, I serious. Links for 26.
You know, hear it. Like I want to West, Hear yourself.
And the 8th.
The man with the car, you can't pass it to my taxi yard unless you make sure you show your papers there. I just give a passport stamp right there. You can say, right? You can't pass it to the taxi yard without you get them paper stamp. And the man don't tell you, licks for 26. That's official now.
So I hope that he lives to see many more days.
Good for him.
And I know this new endeavor is doing very good.
All right, Super Dad.
All right. And I hope that we get some more development in the French City,
We got to keep up on it.
Your farmer office, he's on touching up. And I know when the Argan guy, but your business Argan coming.
My son, because I'm looking bad now that, the neighbors next to it, they make it look bad now.
Right? So, what a man name, they know my Melvin or John down the road, say by Saki. I can't answer. What a man name?
That's a Saki.
I think he been some big man in the government or something. Down the road, say that crowd from where Melvin or John had the property in Whitney.
No, you got me. What do you call it? I live younger than you, know.
Oh, no, the road where the Queen live.
Yeah. All the way down.
They can't have before reach here on the right side.
Yeah.
They were going down Whim Road. The big Whim Road, I got to pay guys down below I said good home.
Yeah.
Which I know the hotel and they good home, but the eastern part of Whim.
I know you will tell him, but I can't recall. I should, but that's what I tell you, younger than you.
Right. They were saying, but the Sunday, that place look worse than Kankara dump.
Lord. Ooh.
No, they make that day dump. I can afford the chat in there. I know anything, like, God forbid, somebody pass that child cigarette, they so.
Oh, Lord.
And we got to pray and hope that it will happen and don't win them blowing. Because like that place don't get damaged.
Well, Beloved, Super Dad, the mayor of Western, making it clear that we got a hazard on our hand. So why don't the proper authorities need to take a look at it?
Benny will take a look at it tomorrow.
Good thing. Good thing.
So,
Good thing.
try again contact with the administrator and Senator Julie because he's the one for public safety and something.
Right.
I don't tell you they are even at the ear, and I tell you to call in public work and fire department and
Yeah.
that won't be doing. Why again at the police station, man? Friday?
Oh yeah?
Yeah, man.
What where is what you talking about?
Me, you know, it must be the continuation of the
What?
more like. And say the best governor.
One stop it over.
No, but there are 135,000 more he has spent for his legacy.
Well, hey, ain't nobody to stop it.
And the thing about it, you know that the highest bid was over 800,000.
That's
Okay,
what.
legacy that way.
Oh, this is 800,000. That's
Yeah,
almost
that was the highest bid.
wow.
No president that them thing ever spend them kind of money.
Wow.
And he's only a thing.
But that's the point I'm making though is that is if anybody's supposed to keep your check is the legislature, but the legislature back in here all the way.
12
the
and
problem.
inside.
Yeah,
So, the 12 and inside. So,
yeah. What I
we
think,
need to get rid of them Democrats. That's what we need to do.
yeah, the Democrats.
Yeah, we got to get rid of them.
Sorry.
The guy is ridiculous.
No,
But he do this thing. See, when they do some paving, and the Freddie said,
yeah.
the biscuit they put on,
Stuff it over.
but the biscuit where you walk, and they think the thing crumble like biscuit.
Stuff it over.
I serious, no joke about that.
Super, that's the paving the road referring to with biscuit.
Yeah, that's what you do. The layer that they put on the road was thin like biscuit.
Mm-hmm.
Which road in Freddie said good?
Me know.
The road that mostly stand up the most was Strand Street when Papa Billy Band decorated Freddie said. Well, Park, the tourism said, okay, the prison. And he mentioned a thing about it. Not a thing he mentioned about Park.
I hear that.
He was wrong, Maroon Ridge and come background.
I hear that. That's what everyone was what I was hearing this man was talking about. That he had a thing wrong in neck.
No, he had it.
He didn't talk about the ballpark.
He's smart, though. They made that chokey. Let big guns come in and listen.
Super, that he was not the place, man. They go take we had your Kahuna outside because he said the street empty with biscuits.
Yeah, he did with biscuits.
All right, Super, now you take care of it. Go take it. You know, I never heard about that before, so when I was Super, that's the baby street there reflects with biscuit. When you walk in the street, you know, you're feeling crumbling under your foot. Oh my Lord. Poor we have started, poor we team. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Boyd.
I thank you for your call and we welcome you.
My first request is to have Super Dad as your co-host.
You understand? Well, I can't afford him, but I would offer him you know, the deal. But I know him and he in charge of this FCR. I know he in charge to get my passport stamped. So I don't think we could afford it. But all the same, I will offer him, you know, Super Dad, if you want the job, we can't afford you, but we offer you the position. How is that?
If you could get abs and escape the factory back. Look, guys, listen, I was following 26 and the road is killing me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's Super Dad, the son. Lixin 26.
He's really a treasure. Frederick said, I can't.
Yes, that's, yeah, he's ours, son. He's ours.
What I know, but hey, that's what I really laughed at. Like my buddy used to always tell me, that one laugh is good for your soul. So
yeah, man.
Yeah, man. For me, that like laughter.
Right.
In light of the situation that we are currently living in,
yeah,
geopolitically. And one of the things I didn't hear the governor mention was that this past Saturday, the Japanese bond market collapsed.
Yeah.
And there was a margin call. And I said, well, let me do a little research. Well, the Diageo sales in 2025 was down 9.1%. So the rum sales down. And now that we have the special purpose vehicle, which is a bond that they use to float to keep the GERS solvent. Well, if this happens Saturday, it's all over the internet. We have Mr. Mota, the public relations individual for the governor. Why didn't the governor mention that last night in the State of the Territory address, seeing that this could be, I don't know if it's going to be detrimental, but it could have an effect on the bond and what's happening with the retirement system.
Well, I don't know anything more than what you are telling us here, but when you mention a margin call, I immediately, you know, need to ask you, well, is this on the American stock market? Is this on bonds or what?
Well, what happened was, you know, Japan holds a lot of treasury bonds, 30 years, and with them having the liquidity, it's having an effect on the bond market. So that's why I said, well, if it's having an effect on the bond market, you know, what sort of effect will this have on the special purpose vehicle bond, which is the bond that we use to keep the GRS solvent? And then when I said, well, let me just do a real further research, and I said, well, let me see what the sales for Diageo was. I couldn't get the sales for Cruzan, but Diageo rum in the 48 contiguous, which is where we get the rum cover over from.
Yeah.
Last year, 2025, was down 9.1%. Well, one of the things is, as we look at the demographics, the younger population is not so much of an alcohol and spirits and rum drinking as people who might be 30 to 60 years old.
Uh-huh.
So if there's a decline in sales, and that's just for the 48 contiguous, and I'm thinking that's where we get the rum cover. If you could correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Moorhead.
No, you're absolutely correct.
Okay, so that's why I just said, let me just Google for the 40 contiguous, and you know that to me, 9.1%. You know, it might sound like a lot to people, but when you're doing business, that could be a significant amount of money. 9.1% of your sales, you're down 9.1%. Well, I said, well, let me call the PFA this morning. I said, well, should you speak to Mr. Nathan Simmons, who chairs the Public Finance Authority, to see, you know, what is their take on what has just happened recently.
financial committee in the 36th legislative body, and I got the same thing. I got my classmate, Neil Dampata, president of the 36th legislative body, and everybody's telling me leave a message. So I said, well, I was hoping I could have more information when I called your show today, in light of what's happening with the bond market, and seeing that if we lose the GERS, that will be a big loss to the Virgin Islands. The retirees are dependent on their annuities. So I thought that, seeing that this was the governor's last state of the territory, and this has been news, I get from people, like I know you've said numerous times, you're 2 weeks behind because you're usually up on the internet and so forth. So
right.
I just said, well, let me bring this to your show.
And we certainly appreciate it.
Enlightenment as far as what's happening with the bond market. One of the things that it affected, based on what was being reported, well, I think it was in 2024 when President Trump was found guilty here in New York for whatever the case was, fraud, for fudging the numbers for his property. And State Attorney General, what's the name of it?
Letitia James.
Had got, I think it was $400 and something million. But then he had put up a bond to keep from his property being seized. Well, it seemed like the bond that he had put up was part of this bond failure that happened in Tokyo on Saturday. And now that he no longer has those bonds to help secure his property, that the marshals are looking to seize Trump Tower, which is on 57th and 5th, 40 Wall Street, and possibly even Mar-a-Lago. So again, these are things to look forward coming this week and into next week to see, what's going to happen. But my more concern was when I heard of the bond market crash, and the margin call was with the government of the Virgin Islands retirement system, because that was teetering on insolvency until we got this special purpose vehicle. And,
well, that's what is really concerning to me, because as you now pointed out, this was a measure of last resort, because the pension was that threatened. And it seemed to me that the cover over funds somehow or the other related to the taxation of the rum produced in the Virgin Islands, which is just Diageo and Cruzan. So if the sales are lower, well, clearly the tax revenue from the sales would be lower.
Correct.
And so I think what you pointed out to us, yes, is certainly a very threatening situation, because what happens to the pension if, well, the amount is reduced? Because that was the last argument I recall, and that came out of the delegates to Congress office, when it was going to be at the $10.50 rate or at the $13.25 a gallon rate. And so now with this information, well, I'm trying to enlighten my beloved audience that it's a matter of less tax revenue because there's less sales revenue.
Exactly. Well, I guess the shining light might be the fact that we went from the 1050 approved gallon to the 1325 as part of Trump's new bill that should, I don't know if it will take effect, I think it was saying after November or something like that. I'm not too sure. Maybe Delegate Plaskett could come and enlighten her constituency as to what's taking place. But you're so right, Mr. Moorhead. If you have reduced sales, that means you have reduced taxes, and if you have reduced taxes, that means you have reduced cover over, and with reduced cover over, there's just less money into the government coffers, and I would think that with that being said, that whether you're the OMB director, commissioner of finance, Senator Francis, all those members of the financial committee, PFA, they would have a concern as to what's taking place with this bond market, and they know that if there should be any insolvency come to the GRS, what that would do as far as collapsing the government of the Virgin Islands, or just it will be bad economics, because if you have less means, less money to spend, and the retirees, I guess, make up a significant portion, then it's just not a good outlook as far as financially. So I just thought that when I saw that news, and then when I said, well, let me go to see what the actual sales look like, and I saw it was down, like they said, 9.1% in 2025. We just started in 2026. So
you've shared some. You are sharing some enlightening information, and again, I hope that our government is prepared for it, which they usually aren't. But yes, the prospect of less monies to support the government employees retirement system, which I refer to as our pension, is at risk. And that's very, very serious. So that's why I call it very enlightening information from you, which we appreciate. And I certainly hope that our government is prepared to, well, not react, but that they're proactively about to do something about it. So thank you so much.
But
Thank you.
18 degrees Celsius, and of course, we just had the polar vortex that just dropped a foot of snow on us. I just said drinking some tea and listening to you, and just wishing I would down there, someplace at some beach, getting some sun, tea, and sun instead of cold snow and ice.
I hear you. Yeah. Take care of yourself, man. And thank you so much, Mr. Grant.
I'm here listening to the program. Take care and enjoy the rest of your afternoon, sir.
All the best. All the best. Thank you.
All right.
All righty. Beloved, lick your cream, because I'm sorry, ice cream is just so good for your soul.
Yes, you trying to get on Mario after this break?
We're back, beloved. And we've got a caller. Good, a patient caller. Let's go. Open the door. Welcome in. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I am trying to be as well as you sound. You sound powerful. Yes.
Don't take our song as any indication for how I do it. I just talking loud so you can hear me.
Okay. All right. All right. Will do. I will take that as a clarification. But you sound powerful, Alice. So you got to have something going in your spirit to be able to do it if you're not feeling that.
Maybe it's in the blood.
All right.
Anyway, I said good afternoon to you again, Uncle Mario, and to your listening audience. And I wanted to perhaps maybe continue.
Well, could I identify you since you don't identify me as your uncle?
But by all means, I mean, there is no secret.
Beloved, unless I am totally too young for my age, this is none other than my nephew Shelly Mohe.
So, there you have it.
And I want to welcome you, officially,
I don't listen as often as I can.
That's a good thing. You should call as often as you can too, because we keep saying it, it's all about information and enlightenment, and neither information or enlightenment. They don't travel on one-way street. We like the two-way traffic. So, you could always inform us, you could always enlighten us, and hey, we are here for you because you in the past done some very informative and enlightening things for us as a community. And so, the idea.
I don't know if today will be a day where I will be doing enlightenment. I think I call more for information because
Okay.
and forgive me if I sound like a phenomenon when I ask, because some of what I just listened to, I didn't come in and the entire conversation, but I caught the gist of the exchange between you and the last caller. And so, forgive me if I'm mistaken, but from what I was able to glean, I am now understanding that the sales of the rum that we export, and I guess in general, rum sales on a whole on the global market are down. And because we, someone in our government has an ingenious idea to peg the taxation of rum for our rum cover over as the emergency measure that would stabilize pensions at GRS. Am I learning now that GRS is again in peril because of the decline in rum sales?
I would hope that you've got room in your chair for me to sit next to you, because I was notably assimilating the same information as you explaining it to us, is that seem to be hearing that there's been a drop in sales, and a drop in sales meaning a drop in the tax revenue, and a drop in the tax revenue, of course, translated into the ability to support the GERS at the same level. And I think you use the term emergency because that's what it was. Matter of fact, it's mismanagement that caused the government employee retirement system to be in such a situation that required the so-called cover-over monies to keep it from total collapse. So again, like I said, make room. You shared it, you said it, because I am getting the same information as you described it. Yes, that's what the caller was saying to us. And again, I can't go beyond that because that's the only information that I got. But it speaks to the mismanagement of the government employees retirement system, which I refer to as the pensions, that it got in that situation in the first place, Shelley, to now be dependent on the rum cover over, which in itself, is a big question mark to me that I would like somebody to explain as it, how is it that we are, connected to this, this source of funding by something called rum cover over, when in fact, I mean, I thought that the revised Organic Act simply said that, hey, our products from the Virgin Islands exported to the United States should have the tax revenue returned to the Virgin Islands Treasury. So I'm at a loss, and so I beg you to make room for me to sit next to you to try and understand what's going on here.
I mean, it would then beg the question, for clarity's sake.
Yes.
Given what it outlined in the revised Organic Act.
Yeah.
Well, then is it just the sale or the taxes from the sale of rum that is paid to GERS, or is it the taxation from all of our products then that are paid to GERS?
Well, I mean, a very, very good question. But again, this is something that the office of the delegate to Congress should be able to explain to the people of the Virgin Islands with clarity, because
I chuckled because I heard the previous caller indicate, or in fact petition, some kind of clarity from the delegate's office to our constituency. And I mean, if I am not mistaken, the last time that I heard the current delegate mention anything about constituents or constituency had to do with Jeffrey Epstein. So, I mean, I don't know how much we can expect from the delegate's office regarding this issue, especially given the fact that we have come to learn, as your caller indicated, this was a measure passed in the Big Beautiful Bill.
Yeah.
This was a measure that was passed by a Republican Congress and was not supported by one Democrat. So I don't know what kind of clarity we expect to come and to which constituency we think that it will be given. But today, the fact that we are here seeking this kind of clarity, I mean, it's indicative of the fact that she is unable to provide it. we here in the 11th hour now, and it look like we in emergency mode over pensions again, and nobody. We just come out of state and territory just last night, and we hear the governor praising Mike Crapo over the same extension of the rum cover over to 1325, but not one mention of GERS. You hear nothing about insolvency. You hear nothing about, you understand? So I don't think that we should look for clarity to come from those signposts, because they have been misleading thus far.
Well, you're making it clear for us here that we see it, and if anything, it's much more frightening than they would have us think it is, because as you pointed out here, it's the delegate, I guess, is more concerned about what to do with all this information about Jeffrey Epstein and dealing with our constituents here in the Virgin House, and let us understand that, how is it, that we've, as you pointed out, that we've got to this situation where we have to hope that we get 13.25 per gallon and out rum taxation. And again, I don't know, Shelly, where you find that in the revised organic act. You pointed out, I mean, there's no clarity here. If anything, it's obfuscation and confusion. The opacity of this thing is such that, I mean, you need Windex to clear up this window and be able to see through as to what is going on. And the only thing that I know for sure, like that you said, is that yes, she is definitely indebted to Jeffrey Epstein and his source of funding, but we don't know anything about our source of funding, and she certainly doesn't have given any explanation as to the source of funding that the GRS, our pension system, has come to rely on. I mean, she hasn't said anything. So,
but they continue to take turns and do media round of applause to pat themselves on the back for this permanent extension, as if the rum cover over was some type of gift from Congress.
Yeah.
And Maria, you and I both know that's not the target.
That's right. No.
In the revised Organic Act, it is there.
Yes.
It is an entitlement.
Yes.
It is your right.
Yes.
As a Virgin Islander, you bound with this right.
That's right.
It's your tax.
That's right. That's right.
So how it is, we don't go around the place, patting ourselves on the back, lining up in cameras, saying, I got this, I did this, I love it, it's Mario, I don't care as a law. And so if we are approaching taxation for the Virgin Islands, you understand, hey, listen, we already don't got representation, so taxation, you understand, should not be, we shouldn't even be talking taxation without representation. And the simple fact that it is returned to us is verification that we have a representation. That's the only reason why. Now, I mean, if we tease this out some more now, what was glaring in the state of the territory address for me were the omissions, the things that were not mentioned.
All right.
And I don't know how you come before the people of the Virgin Islands for 2 hours and you give no indication of what the territory's finances look like. Yes, I mean, and you give no indication of how you intend to govern in the next 11 months. It was completely absent any of that. And so now, the day before now, state has territory, we finding out that we got contractors complaining and having to stop work
and under the Envision program, we have vendors complaining they can't pay what you call it, ODRA, disputing the fact that vendors pay, but they're saying 5 million is too big. But if you can't find $2 million, Mario, and we don't run to $25 billion of federal fund grants and all kind of things come down, you need to tell him, how is this being a cushion? How is this being nothing in the bank, Mario?
Yeah. Mismanagement is rampant, Shelly. Mismanagement is rampant.
So now then, if we go back to GRS, so then the only thing we can look at, that if we step back and look at what last night actually was, everything running good. Country, the other caller is the country running good. And so now, and when I turn on social media today, I could see, they're making the media wrong. So the next thing that's coming, right, is the borrowing bill. You know that coming. Because we flat broke.
Yeah.
We flat broke. So either not for sweetening we up and peppering we up for we to land the next borrowing bill and we marry. And pass on this debt down the line, now generation after generation, we see the young days, all of them do it. And so it's setting we up again. How is leave $70 million in cash on hand for who? How? And you broke now?
Yeah.
So, and our expenditures outpacing our revenues? You tell me how you intend to do that.
Good question.
He's talking to people like people shopping. And I'm saying that the people of the Virgin Islands, they have come of age. There is another degree of political maturity now in this electorate. And that's the way you try and pass out. It don't fly, brother. It don't fly. So now, in order now try boost our rum sales. Which one we going to need now to go advertise rum now for the Diageo and Crucial rum?
Okay.
Because which one we going to need now?
Good question, my son. I don't know where we're going. I really don't know.
Whoever had the ingenious idea now to peg DRS to rum, me know that we got to go out and sell rum.
But let me interrupt a quick second, Kelly, to say, was nothing genius about that. You know,
I be position.
Yeah, but I want to make it clear for my beloved audience here. Be facetious, yes, sarcastic and everything else, because we need to understand that mismanagement had brought us, to the brink where the government employees retirement system, the pensions of Virgin Islanders were on the brink. And the only source of fund that was immediately available to rum come over. That was supposed to be, an emergency, an urgent solution to a problem that we could not afford to mature. Because if it matured, it would have meant that, hey, we would bankrupt, all the bankrupts, the pensions would have gone down the drain. And so that since then, and it's been years now, we have made no attempts, Jenny. And this is why I jumped onto the ingenious, word, because I want people to get to understand that, hey, we have had absolutely not even a conversation from the delegate's office as to, well, what are we going to do about this? Because this was only supposed to be a temporary fix. the mismanagement of the pension system was supposed to be ratified. We're supposed to work on that. And that's what I'm trying to point out here, Shelly, is that, hey, what was supposed to be a temporary emergency, has been allowed to settle into, well, a very brittle, very vulnerable situation that we are now, wondering, well, what the hell is going to happen? Because
this was just a temporary stabilization.
Thank you.
But the core issues have not been addressed. So we have been crouching along on the wrong cover over, acting as if it is a permanent fix.
Thank you.
And those chickens now have come home to roost.
Thank you.
As what your caller has indicated. And we have still not addressed the underlying core issues, the mismanagement, the corruption, the neglect, and ineptitude that led to insolvency in the first place.
There you go. Now, that's what I call clarity.
All of that, our delegate has been crickets.
Well, that's what I call clarity. That's where we are. That is where we are. You've made it very clear.
So I would like to propose, and not as a permanent fix to the GERS, because those issues, as we have outlined, are they require a much more hands-on and in-depth review than something as easy as a temporary financial fix.
Right.
However, in light of the decline in rum sales, I would like to advocate that we revisit our tax code in the Organic Act, and that we, through the delegate's office, and perhaps even through the governor's office, begin the process of renegotiating a new tax deal for the people of the Virgin Islands based on the Organic Act. And that would seem that seems nonsensical to me, especially, if you pay TRS or taxation, would that not then call for a review of our tax law?
Absolutely.
And so that would seem to me as the only, for the first possible way forward, since the legislation is already there. It is not just rum that is eligible for taxation. And there are so many other things that we produce and have produced over the many decades to where now, Mario, the fact is, if we really look at it, the U.S. Congress has illegally captured the tax dollars of the people of the Virgin Islands. And without doing a forensic review, and we just talk about, aluminum, pharmaceuticals, watches, just off the top of my head.
Yeah.
It would seem that retroactively, the U.S. Treasury and the Congress, they are in debt to the people of the Virgin Islands. Am I wrong? Am I missing something?
No, the only person missing something is the office of the delegate, because that's the office that.
Nonsensical to me, and
well, that's what I'm saying, is that the information you sharing here is what is supposed to be coming from the delegate's office.
Well, I've been so focused on seeking to defend the rights and the interests and to seek to collect the debt that is owed by Europe and some of these multinational corporations that have extracted wealth
territory that, my work has kept me focused in the European theater and in various international fora, whether it is.
Well, you better bring your skills home because we need all the cognitive skills that we can get here because we are on the brink. But unfortunately, I passed my top of the hour break. I've got to get you have the last word, but I've got to take the break.
Okay, well, I began to look at these things when all of this Epstein mess began to blow up. We saw customs between our delegates and the TV, whether it was Trump impeachment or whether it was, making the media round after January 6th.
Right.
I wish where the guy covered.
Right.
When the people bidding. Until when Mario Aigan looked into this thing and realized we're not being represented.
Right.
And maybe on a later call we can talk about some of the other, inequalities that exist. But I watch it, supplementary.
I feel you. I feel you. Yes.
I watch it Medicare. Okay.
We need your cognitive skills. We need your cognitive skills, and we thank you for sharing with us because you made us think, about matters that we were taking for granted, and that in itself, deserves our gratitude. So we thank you. Until next time, Shelley. Take care of yourself.
One about it.
Yes, beloved. Lick your cream, because Absar ice cream is just so good for your soul. beloved. And yes, indeed, I appreciate Armstrong ice cream because it make me realize that, beloved, as descendants of Africa, we have our own values, our own principles, our own beliefs, our own way of life. And that's the whole point. That by refusing to have Virgin Islands history, for whatever reason, since 1983 has not been able to implement Burke-Bryan's law. We have not allowed our students the opportunity to assimilate the concept that, hey, as Africans, we have a way of life that is peculiar to Africans. Now, we might break it down to pretty simple and sometimes even comical comparisons, like saying things like, beloved, they can't dance like us. They don't know how to move with rhythm like we can. And you can get down to things like, I remember, it's been a few years back now, but it was a very popular song. We used to call it the Bana Jam, Big Bana Jam. But again, see, all of these things is speaking to the African humanities. Beloved, when you speak about Bana and Big Bana, whether it is the Big Bana Jam or the actual song, beloved, you don't associate Bana and Big Bana with white women. No, something, again, is part of the African humanities, the African way of life. And that's how it is. You don't expect for European descendants to have the same tastes, the same likes, same dislikes as African people. And that's what we mean by African humanities. It's our way of life as contrasted with theirs. And the peculiar thing is that they, and I'm talking about white people, descendants of Europeans, they tend to use these differences to make themselves out as superior. So that in the little example I was giving you about Bana and Big Bana, Jam and so forth, they would have us to believe that having a Bana, having a Big Bana is an inferior thing. When, beloved, to us, That is something to your credit. And a female with a big rounded banner is to our eyesight something very attractive. Whereas to the descendants of Europe, they would want us to think that's something inferior. And that a superior European female ain't got no banner. Because banner ain't supposed to be, well, an attractive attribute in a female. And we are supposed to buy into that. And beloved, this is part of the problem. Because they now, white people, they're going to see themselves as superior. And we, black people, we are supposed to feel inferior. Well, beloved, because of the good for not misleaders that we have installed as our government, our governmental leadership. Well, we're stuck with this inferior frame of mind because in their effort to curry favor and to appease our white, well, I was going to say our white masses, but I think we don't use those terminology anymore. We more talk about colonial colonists, colonizers. That's the kind of terminology we use now. So it's the colonizers who are our superior, who our governmental leaders are always trying to appease, to curry favor with, and to make sure that the superiority image is preserved. So that, beloved, something like, well, comical as it could be, like a banana jam, a big banana jam, that would be viewed by our good for not mislead as something that we should look down on. And I was just, it's not an attribute that we should find attractive. And so therefore we should promote it and talking about jam, banana jam, and banana in general, beloved, is, well, it's uplifted to the African humanity, but that's the point right there. As Africans, we're not supposed to have humanities. And so that our values as African people, our principles, our beliefs. All of these things here, they don't add up to anything because that's just it. We're supposed to be inferior people. And teaching Virginians history and basic Caribbean history would be problematic because the way it is and the way they want it to stay is that our history begins in chains. And that our history before slavery just didn't exist. Before slavery, we were, I guess, primitive, like monkeys living in trees and things like that, because they will not allow us to have any history before slavery. And this is where you get into things when you get into ancient Egypt and all of this, where they tell you that no, that could not have been black people, and no black people couldn't have been the pyramids. And it all comes back to, again, that fundamental misunderstanding that we must live with, which is that we, as descendants of Africa, we are inferior people. And we must always be appreciative of the superior white people that we have to depend on for our survival. And so that is, again, some of the basic reasons why we don't have any inside-out cultivation, because that would be implying that we could sustain ourselves, that we could somehow take care of ourselves. And that is not supposed to be the case at all. We're supposed to be inferior and be in need of a superior people to take care of us. And that's why we get into the African humanities, and why I get, like I said, beloved, I'm so glad to be able to promote Upshot Ice Cream, because in a simplistic way, it speaks to our African humanity, which is simply that, hey, beloved, as human beings, we're not inferior. We are different. You heard me. Not inferior, we are different. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mario. How are you?
Thank God, Mr. One day at a time, yeah. Old, slow, but good to go.
So when you talk about budget and funding that we have received from since 2009, Mario,
Yeah.
we talk about the last issue, you know? And I like to hear the callers when they call, because they call in with their right answer. But unfortunately, our so-called actors don't like to hear the truth. Because truth sounds like hate to those who hate the truth, Mario.
That's how it is, yeah.
They will tell us a lie and don't tell us the truth at the same time.
Yeah. I hear you.
So, when you really check it out, Mario, it's not working in favor for the people or the community in the Virgin Islands. What are they working in favor for? Themselves. All of them. When you really check it out with the money in the budget, what if the money don't just disappear and go away? You know? And then they don't want to have accountability with forensic audits. They don't want what's called a form of a check and balance government. They say a majority rule. All kind of nonsense, Mary.
Yep.
You know, they don't want to look into the federal paper. They don't want to understand how we are governed, our foundation, our structure. You know, they don't care. They just stand as part of self-destruction because it's working in their best interest, their favor, and not the community or the people's best interest. It's a shame, man.
It is. But we allow it. We allow it, Mr.
Yeah, unfortunately, man. But, you know, it's very easy. Need someone to get in office and want to make a change in the Virgin Islands. Very simple. Just go after their funding, their accounts right there. If they have a trace of all, everybody that touched that money and the funding goes from one, wherever it came from, it's got to go somewhere.
All right.
So there's accountability right there. Just waiting for the right person to get in office to go do something, get something done. You know? And I would go after every last one of those donors that's receiving $500,000 or whatever they receive. That they are responsible. So if you're responsible, then you're responsible to give back the money to the community.
All right.
For the Virgin Islands. You know? But I will leave on that note.
Yes, sir. It's shameful. Stay strong, man. I appreciate you.
You can't have this who does really check it out, you know. I'm glad for them.
I hear you.
Yeah, man.
Okay. All right. Yes, beloved. We have to be very, very grateful because I tell you, I don't know of anything I could better recommend to relieve stress. I keep telling you, keep some of that Armstrong ice cream in the freezer if you're able, because times like these, beloved, you need stress relief because hypertension, like diabetes, is killing us. So lick your cream, beloved, because Armstrong ice cream is just so good for your soul. And yes, indeed, beloved, our situation is not improving. And we are now in what they refer to as a general election year, where come November, we'll be electing a new governor and lieutenant governor to occupy a government house. And then we'd be either re-elected the delegate to Congress or elected a new delegate to Congress. And then, of course, beloved, the 15 senators that occupy the legislature of the first branch of government. And peculiarly, beloved, most peculiarly, no one in office speaks to these issues that we talk about here on this platform, whether it's what is to happen to our pensions, government employee retirement system, what's to happen with our so-called rum cover over, because again, beloved, well, that is the purview of the office of the delegate of the Congress, but to the very best of my recollection, they really don't speak to it. So we don't know how. To this day, like in the earlier conversation we had here, the Revised Organic Act doesn't speak to rum specifically. They're talking about anything that is produced in the Virgin Islands that goes to the United States, that the taxes on it are supposed to come back to us. Well, beloved, I, for one, don't recall a delegate to Congress ever speaking to that issue. I mean, from way back, that would be the early 1960s, I believe it was around 1962 that we got the first refinery that was supposed to be refining bauxite, an alumina refinery. Well, again, you help me out, but I don't recall any delegate to Congress speaking about the tax revenue that should be returned to our treasury. You say, which tax revenue, Marissa? Well, the alumina that is produced in the Virgin Islands and then shipped to the United States. I mean, That tax revenue is what I'm talking about. Should it come back to us? And I'm saying it. Maybe you remember better than I do, but I don't remember any delegate to Congress speaking about that. Then in 1966, we got an oil refinery. Yes, beloved. That was S-Oil. And there was all kind of talk about how productive it was and how big an operation it was. One of the biggest refineries in the Western Hemisphere and all kind of talk like that and so forth and so on. But again, you tell me if I miss something, but I don't recall a delegate to Congress speaking to us about the monies that we were supposed to be getting from the oil that was produced, refined here in the Virgin Islands and shipped to the United States. We're supposed to get those tax dollars back. I don't recall any conversation about that whatsoever. And so we come to where we are today now. No more alumina refinery. No more oil refinery. Although they keep telling us that, hey, they're looking to reopen the oil refinery. But the fact of the matter is that, beloved, somehow, somewhere along the line, we were led to believe that the only tax revenues we could depend on was from rum. And in this case now, we got two distilleries here. Cruzan, which been here, and then of course, Diageo. Now, beloved, I don't have any understanding as to where this matter of rum cover over, where that come from. Because I don't know if you have, but I definitely have read the revised Organic Act of 1954. I've read it, and I don't see anything in there about rum cover over. What I see there again is, hey, whatever is produced in the Virgin Islands and exported to the United States, the tax revenue on that export is supposed to come back to the Virgin Islands Treasury. I don't know what happened, but somehow we got confused by the terminology that is used called rum cover over. What is that, beloved? What is the rum cover over? Because the revised Organic Act of 1954, that's the point that I am making. And somebody, different at me, I need to be enlightened. I need to be informed. My reading of the document is that whatever is produced in the Virgin Islands and exported to the States, the taxes on that export is supposed to return to the Virgin Islands Treasury. So I ask, where does the rum cover over terminology, where does that come from? What is it? Who came up with this terminology? Because I don't know. And these are the kind of problems that, beloved, leave somebody like me totally confused. And I said, well, like, Lord, how will the judge? Well, we have 15 senators. Does any of these 15 senators have a better understanding of this revised organic act than I do? So that they could explain to me, well, what is a rum cover? And where does this 1050 and 1325 thing, where does that come from? You know. But beloved, this is what makes it so painfully and agonizingly harmful to our mentality. And what I was speaking of earlier, beloved, it makes us all seem as if we are an inferior people and that we don't have the capability of, well, understanding the system under which we live. And that to depend on our senators to explain it to us is hopeless because they're busy with other things, I assume, because, I don't know. But I have not been able to hear any of the 15 senators tell us what the rum cover over is about. How did it come to be? And how is it that I can't find it in the revised organic act? Not there. So I am being told that, Mario, you're asking the senators a question that is beyond it. They're not in Washington, D.C. They are here with us in the Virgin Islands. They are all government. I said, well, that's why I'm asking them. Because they're supposed to be able to tell us what this rum cover over is all about. I said, no, it's not like that, Mario. It's not like that. The rum cover over is a federal thing. I said, federal? Yeah. I said, well, isn't the revised organic act a federal document? Yes, it is. Well, so what's the difference? I read the revised organic act and it doesn't tell me anything about any rum cover over. So I have to send it as. And you telling me no. It's a federal matter. Meaning what then? I'm supposed to be in the office of the delegate to Congress? Well, yeah. The delegate to Congress should be able to explain what the rum cover over is all about. And why there is a debate between the 10.50 per gallon or 13.25 per gallon, because that seems to be the basis for taxation. Is that what we're talking about? $13.25 tax on a gallon of rum? Is that what this is all about? Because, beloved, what we need to understand is pure and simple. You know, how does the United States tax Virgin Islands rum export? How? I mean, Diageo is the new one. Crucian has been here even before the revised Organic Act of 1954. So we're asking you, you know, is that what is happening? That we are getting taxed by the gallon? $10.50 a gallon and $13.25 a gallon? Is that what's going on? Help me out. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon once again, Mr. Moore.
Welcome again.
Yeah, well, I just said, well, after I was listening to this, your nephew, Shelly Moore, that's who you
Yes,
was.
yes, my nephew, yes.
Yeah, well, I said, well, let me see if I could get some information. Well, I called Delegate Factor's office in D.C. and the office is closed. Then I called the Port of Sale office in St. Thomas. Well, they're in the middle of a meeting. Director, Mr. Francois, said, well, the D.C. office is closed because of the snowstorm. Everybody's working virtually. And then I called the PFA to speak to Nathan Simmons because I had called earlier this morning. And to my surprise, he's been in a meeting all day. So could this have something to do with the fact that Diageo has a 9.1% loss in rum sales and the black market crashing in Tokyo? And so I'm hoping that Mr. Simmons can give us some information. And as you're asking about the rum cover over and what was in the Revised Organic Act of 1954,
yeah.
I want to see if you could give me some information. Now, anything that is produced, like you say, from Harvey's aluminum to, I think, your nephew talked about when you had the watch factory in St. Croix.
Yeah.
So F. Well, now that in the bill that is now law, that President Trump just signed, where it took us from a temporary 10.50 permanent 1325 per proof gallon, and you're asking what does that really mean? Should we receive 100% of our excise tax from what is produced and exported out of the Virgin Islands?
Well, again, you are sharing my concern. I'm asking the question, and it just seemed to me that the Office of the Delegate to Congress should be able to explain it to us, but we don't get any explanation. And I just don't know how to read this, because there is no calculation, no kind of statistics, in the Revised Organic Act. There's just simply the language that all exports to the United States, subject to taxation, should have the taxation minus administrative costs, return to the Virgin Islands. And so I was like, well, wait a minute. Well, where does this $13.25 a gallon come in? How am I supposed to read this? Because all the Revised Organic Act tells me is that, hey, however the United States taxes our export, in this case, our export is rum, we are supposed to have it returned to us. And
but let me ask you this.
I'm listening.
Okay, well, if that is the case, and I might be a little too young to remember, but I think I remember hearing somebody say the argument that the federal government was putting up was that if we received the monies from the refinery, that it was going to be too much monies for our little territory. I don't remember.
We have heard that. Well, I'm old enough, and I've been here all along, and that was one of the arguments, but that was locally. That did not come out of the office of the Delegate to Congress. Let's face it, 62 was the alumina, Harvey Alumina. 66 came Hess Oil Petroleum, right? 1970 came now the Delegate to Congress. So since the 1970s, we have had an office that we elect to represent us in government in Washington, D.C., that has never explained what this rum cover over is all about. And I would like to think that that's, like all the federal programs that we are entitled to as an unincorporated territory of the United States, this should be going through the office of the Delegate to Congress. That should be the office to tell us what's going on.
Well, in light of what just happened recently with the permanency of the 1325, now that's law, is there any way we could grandfather back the excise tax revenues from the sale of refined petroleum, leaving as for residents from, I don't know, going from 66 to 2012 when the refinery closed? Because those funds, could be beneficial to the territory. Before that way, we wouldn't have to be so dependent on federal allocations, because those monies that you're talking about, probably billions,
I am wholeheartedly agreeing with you. But all I'm saying is that again, the office of the delegate to Congress, has been mute about these things. So we don't know. And that's why I am questioning and say, well, hey, all right, we are back to just rum because no oil refinery, no aluminum refinery. All right, it's basically rum. Okay, fine. Well, could you explain what the rum cover over is to us so that we could have a better understanding of how it is we are receiving the tax on our rum exports returned to us? That's, I mean, what I would like to hear from the delegate's office.
Well, hopefully, I can get you to Mr. Francois when I hang up here. I'm going to call him back. He told me call back in a half hour and see if he can give me an explanation. And maybe after, I know it's 3:30 when you have Aisha's program. So maybe after Aisha's program, I might be able to have an answer from the delegate's office as far as the explanation of the red cover over. So let me work on that some more ahead, and I'll try to get back to you with some sort of answers.
Oh man, I'm indebted to you on behalf of my beloved audience and I. Yes, we would love to because you are really doing the task of the office of the delegate to Congress. That's who's supposed to be speaking as you're speaking here, you know. But we thank you. We thank you. We thank you so very much. Mr.
When I hang up now, continue listening to the program, and like I said, I'm gonna get in touch with Mr. Francois and see if he can give us an answer to the rum cover over, and try to get back.
Thank you so much, Mr. Grant.
The end of the program. You're welcome. Take care.
All right. Well, beloved, but you're hearing it, and it's the top of the hour, and yes, we are going to be having our last break before we remove ourselves from the center stage to make room for beautiful Aisha. At the bottom of the hour, beloved, as instructed, I am going to give you a Crucian history question, and beautiful Aisha will be center stage, prepared to complement that correct answer with a full quart of Amsang ice cream of your favorite flavor. So, beloved, hold on. Lick your cream, because Amsang ice cream is just so good for your soul. beloved. And yes, indeed, we are headed to the bottom of the hour, and our crucial history question. But in the meantime, we have found ourselves, well, in the midst of some serious issues that deserve attention. And an explanation would be in order as to, well, why is it that our government employees retirement system, why is it that it found itself on the brink of bankruptcy? I don't right now recall when it was, but it was a few years ago when we got word that, hey, the retirement system was on the verge of bankruptcy. Can't afford for it to go belly up because who knows how many people will be affected, but all them are those who retired from government employment. I am sure that they are highly anticipating what is going to be done with the retirement system. Because, beloved, this is where the rubber is meeting the road. As we learn that the retirement system was on the verge of bankruptcy, we were told that it could be saved by having the rum cover over funds transferred to the retirement system. And that would save the government employee retirement system from going belly up, from bankruptcy. Fine. Now, it has been years. I don't have any good recollection, beloved, of when this took place. When was it that we learned that the retirement system was on the verge of bankruptcy and that the rum cover over had to be used to keep it from going under? When did this happen? I don't recall, beloved, here and now. But it was some years ago. It certainly didn't happen last year or the year before that. It's been some years. Which raises another question. It's like, well, beloved, if the retirement system was on the verge of bankruptcy because of mismanagement, what has been done to rectify? What has been done to correct the mismanagement that had the system on the brink of bankruptcy? What has been done? How many years has it been? Because we are now concerned with whether the rum cover over could continue to keep the retirement system afloat. I mean, beloved, that's where we are. No one seems to be concerned about the mismanagement of the retirement system itself. That's already been swept under the rug. We're now being concerned about whether the rum cover over is going to be sufficient to keep the retirement system operated. And beloved, this is where we've come to. Early in the program, we got a few very pertinent questions asked. And now we are trying to find out, well, beloved, what is this rum cover over? What is it? Because I speak to you, I can tell you that I am familiar with the Revised Organic Act of 1954. I have read it. And as far as the fiscal section of the Revised Organic Act, it speaks to any and all products. Well, I don't know that language, but it speaks to the products of the Virgin Islands exported to the United States. And that export being taxed. That tax minus administrative costs should be returned, must be returned to the Virgin Islands Treasury. Well, beloved, we just don't have the answers to those questions. And I, for one, can't tell you where this terminology of rum cover over, where did that come from? I don't know. And by the same token, we ask us like, well, beloved, we have had a delegate, non-voting delegate to Congress since 1972. Since 1972. I would think that amongst other things, the office of the delegate to Congress would and should know how this rum cover over formula originated and how does it benefit the Virgin Islands in as much as the language of the revised Organic Act just clearly says that whatever funds are taxed are derived from taxation. Whatever monies come out of it, those monies should be returned to the Virgin Islands government. And this is where we're running into serious issues here, beloved, because as I started out, when a caller pointed out to us that, beloved, the Japanese, who are, as far as I know, when it comes to the foreign investment in the United States bonds, China and Japan, to my recollection, they are the leading nations. Either China or Japan is first, which makes the other one second. So they are the top two investors in US debt. And we learned very early in the program, beloved, that the Japanese are no longer investing in US debt, which is serious, major, critical, to the point that we were asked, is that going to affect the rum cover over and its ability to fund the government employees' retirement system? And this is what brought us to where we are now. Because, beloved, I don't know. But I think that we would all agree that the office of the delegate to Congress is the right place to reach out to try to get answers to these questions. That office should be able to explain, well, how this 13.25 per proof gallon how it impacts the contribution to, well, the government employee retirement system. And is it to such an extent that the rum cover over might not be able to continue its contribution at the level that it has been. And now that it's $13.25 a gallon, and beloved, well, all of this is what we would like to learn from the office of the delegate to Congress. It's like, how does this formula of $13.25 per proof gallon, how does that register in terms of the monies that are transferred to the retirement system? Because, beloved, we don't know. I certainly don't know. And can only hope that, that the information that we got from the Japanese system is not as severe as it sounds, but that's just it, beloved. We don't know. We don't know. Good afternoon.
Yes, Mr. Moore, calling back for the third and possibly last time today. Just spoke with Mr. Francois. He is the director for the Port of Sale office in St. Thomas for Delegate Stacey Plaskett. And what he said to me is that is not his expertise, the rum cover over. And he suggests that I contact the DC office, who's currently working remotely because of the snowstorm we just had here in the East Coast. So maybe I could have that information for you guys come next Tuesday. I'll try to call the DC office sometime later this week to see if there's anybody working at the DC office now that we have the rooms cleared, and get some information as to the definition as to the rum covers. I mean, it would be nice. I don't know what the other good practice is right now, but to hear from the horse's mouth, I think that, it would be best to come from her.
It would, and I'm concerned, as my beloved audience is, because as far as we know, the rum cover over has been the savior of the mismanaged government employee retirement system. And so if now what has happened in the international market, if Japan is, failing to invest in United States debt, we don't know how that could impact the rum cover over, because all we know is that rum sales are down.
It's down. Diageo sales in the 40 contiguous in 2025 is down 9.1%.
There we go. So almost a 10% drop in the sales. And so the point is that it's the rum cover over that has been the source of rescue to keep the retirement system from going bankrupt. And so this is why it's so critical, because it's like, well, wait a minute, how is all of this going to affect the monies that were being transferred from the rum cover over to the retirement system? We don't know. All we know is that, it is critical for the retirement system to get that money to stay afloat.
You're 100% correct with that statement, Mr. Moore. Like you have called them our good for nothing, and they have, and until, and let me just say this, until we have reapportionment, and I said this the other day at another show, it's not going to change. I don't see, even if we have good people there's no accountability. I mean, we're seeing what's happening here in the United States. When we have no accountability in our bicameral Congress,
right,
where we have no checks to put at the executive branch, everything is out of balance.
yeah,
So until our people in the Baltimore wake up and we have reapportionment done where we have districting, I don't see any change come this November 2020 because we're still going to be doing the same thing with no accountability. And if you have no accountability, how can you get anything done?
that's the problem right there.
Exactly. Like you say, that's where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah.
But Mr. Moorhead, I don't want to take up much more time. I'm going to call the DC office tomorrow, Thursday, soon as they're back in the office to try to
Right.
get a definition for the rum come over, and hopefully I could have an answer for you at the office.
Okay.
Last day come next Tuesday.
Well, from me, the gratitude and behalf, I speak on behalf of all my beloved audience because we're all benefiting from the information you provided for us. And I just wanted you to know publicly how grateful we are to you, Mr. Grant, because you're definitely not our, non-voted delegate to Congress.
I
But
don't know, I said some more. I don't know, I wanted some money to my good friends, but I haven't gone by after ice cream. And see if they could express me up some ice cream. I see.
how about that? How about that?
I said I had it done, and I already got an ice cream. I want something over. I get that guy, Jimmy. Coconut. The guy, Jimmy, so what's up? I'm like, grass.
There you go. There you go. There you go. There you go.
You take care.
Thank you so much. And yeah, take care of yourself until we talk again. Ttake care of yourself already. All right. And beloved, with that, we say, hey, get ready because we are going to take our break to come back and deal with the crucial history question of the day. So lick your cream, beloved, because Hampshire ice cream is just so good for your soul. beloved. And yes, you see her. She is center stage, ready to complement the correct answer. Beloved, it's time for our crucial history question. I ask the question, you give the correct answer. Beautiful Aisha compliments you with a full quart of your favorite flavor of Amsterdam ice cream. And that, beloved, you can't beat, not even a black bottle stick. So let's get to it. We are talking about the production of sugar on the island of St. Croix. And beloved, we can tell you that the average amount of sugar that was produced on a yearly basis on this island of St. Croix was 16 million pounds of sugar. That was the average. The question that we are putting to you is for you to tell us what is the largest amount of sugar produced in St. Croix in any given year. We're telling you, the average, hear me good? No, the average is 16 million pounds. 16 million pounds is the average. I am asking you to tell me the largest amount of sugar ever produced on the island of St. Croix at any given year. The largest amount of sugar ever produced in a year. 16 million pounds is the average. I'm giving you that. Now you give me what is the highest amount ever produced on St. Croix. Because if 16 million is the average, there had to be years when they produced more than 16 million. And then again, there would have been years less than 16 million. The average works out to be 16 million pounds of sugar a year. 16 million pounds per year. We are asking you to tell us how much sugar was ever produced in a year on St. Croix. The largest amount of sugar ever produced. Hello.
Yes,
Good
sir.
afternoon. Yes, sir. Give me a number.
112 million pounds.
112. 112 million pounds. Beloved, I have to say, we and come again. £112 million. You say, whoa, that's a big number. That's a big number. But you notice I didn't say whether it was too big or not. All I say is that's a big number. Good afternoon to you. I'm looking for that number. The biggest amount of sugar ever produced in a year on the island of St. Croix.
Yeah, I think the answer is 42 million pounds.
I think the answer is 42 million pounds, he says. And I says, we and come again. Good afternoon. How many million pounds have we produced on St. Croix at the highest amount ever produced on this island? Say that a little louder.
46 million pounds.
46.
Yeah.
46. Wheel and come again. All righty. We got. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Hey. Beloved, that caller just said they're 46.
42. He said 42.
You said 42.
Yeah.
All right. Good afternoon. How many million pounds is it?
Yeah, good afternoon, Mario. Yeah, I would say 51 million pounds.
You would say 51 million pounds.
Uh-huh.
And I would say wheel and come again.
Okay,
All right. Good afternoon to you. How many million pounds?
That's 40.
You would say 40. And I said, all right. And I said, wheel and come again. But no, wheel and come again, beloved. Good afternoon. How many million pounds? How much?
41 million pounds in 84.
You said 41 million. You understand? And I said, wheel and come again. Good afternoon to you. How many million pounds of sugar at the top?
46 million pounds.
There we go. There we go. Beloved, 46 million pounds. I thought, did you call before?
No.
46 million pounds it is. And all I could say to you is, again, is this? I think I am familiar with your voice. You got to be stuttering and all kind of thing here, because you said it so confidently, and at the same time, I think I have had your voice before. But 46 million pounds, beloved. 46 million pounds. And let me tell you when this happened, because if you have been paying attention to us over the years, with this cruise and history question, you would know that between the years 1812 to 1814, we had an excessive production. And this is the time when 46 million pounds was produced. This was when England and America was having the War of 1812. And we were pointed out here in this program that St. Croix played a big part in the production of sugar that England turned into means of production for its war against England. It actually had burned down the White House. But again, it was 46 million pounds, and that happened in 1812, 1813, and 1814. Those 3 years, we actually produced 46 million pounds of sugar here on St. Croix. And now I want to get your name. Hello?
Yes, sir.
I only need your official name.
Yeah, that's friend the line.
Why do you do this to me, man? I'm an old man, having the schisms or schisms here, because I said, why do I know this voice? And I said, he always comes through when we need somebody to be through all the guessing and spilling. Here he just calmly says, 46 million pounds. And I said, who the hell is that? And it's not another Clifford Deland. And again, it's still Rob Reason. Still Rob Reason. I hope I get to meet you one day. You are definitely one of the outstanding scholars that we have discovered in these crucial history questions here. And how you do it, I could only show you respect and appreciation. Mr. Deland, congratulations to you for doing it for us one more time. And beloved, I don't know, but I just get a schism because I couldn't be certain. I wanted to say Deland, but I'll be lying if I knew for sure. But I knew that voice was familiar. I knew it. But it had been a little while since we had heard from Clifford Deland. But he came through as he always does. 46 million pounds. Congratulations to you, man. You are a scholar. You are a crucial scholar. And I wish we had a better government that they could make good use of you, because our children could benefit from the cognitive skills that you display on Tuesday afternoons here when you feel that we are in need. You always come to our rescue. Congratulations to you. Enjoy. All right. Yeah, well, I know I got beloved, let me first of all apologize for the dead ear. Okay. Well,
So,
go straight.
I mean,
Beloved,
when I say 46 million, I just do, I scratching my head like this.
you know, and then, but you did, but you heard me afterwards. I was saying I had problems with it, but let me give me a chance, you know, to gather myself. Let me gather myself. Beloved, this is my nephew who earlier we had conversations, a very serious conversation too, uh, uh, about the things economic here in the Virgin Islands and well, what they're doing or not doing in terms of the non-voting delegate to Congress, Stacey Plaskett, and let's run cover over with style and this we're talking about. But beloved, he did call in and he said 46 million. And I said, what did I say? I did, all right, but I asked, I asked, the office, who was my boss in there, who was that just called, what was the amount that they said? Because somehow the other said, wait a minute, it's 46. He said 46 is what it is. What did I do? What did I do? Somehow or the other, it didn't register in my head, but until afterward, I said, wait, he said 46 million. And so how the hell could I say, will I come again? So I'm asking my boss, check out, say, wait, who was that person? What did they say? And then the boss said, he said 41 or 42, something like that. 41 or 42. And I said, yes, because you're absolutely correct. But so, beloved, yes, we are going to make that right. So for first time ever, we have two winners. We have two winners, and my nephew Shelley Moorhead was actually well, he was dismissed by me, and I still can't understand how it is that I could hear 46 and not register 46 and say will and come again, but I did, and so we are going to make everything out correct, and so Cleveland, the land, got
it very easy, very easy for you because
right.
I've been listening to all that you've been describing our lovely Armstrong ice cream out of president to do for people. And so, because I feel if I guess, I think somebody else could benefit from that Armstrong ice cream. So, what I'm going to do is I am going to dedicate 5 minutes to the office of the delegate to Congress, the Stacey Plaskett. So my ice cream that I just win, we will rededicate that and give that to the Stacey Plaskett so that when she comes now, perhaps now she will answer that question for you regarding the rum cover over. How that sound?
Hey, I couldn't come up with a solution to it, so I could only, bow to you, for coming up with this. I mean, yes, I couldn't come up with a better outcome than that you have done here. And so, Shelley Moorhead, today is definitely your day, and we certainly appreciate and it worked out perfect. So if I had not, messed up the way I did, we wouldn't have gotten this outcome. the way it did. I mean, you could have still at that point said, well, okay, hey, I want to give it to, the office of the delegate to Congress, but it wouldn't have been, as emotionally impacted as it is now. Because, because we did you wrong and you come out, sir, by saying, actually, hey, let me make the correction worthwhile. And so, why don't we have it go to the office of the delegate to Congress? And I said, wow, bingo!
There you have it. So
yes,
we
sir.
expect Jonathan then to work it out with our lovely Aisha. You got to find out what flavor they want, what it is, and make sure they get it.
Will do. And my boss is right at the top of it already. So thank you. And beloved, none other than Shelly Moorhead is the winner today, because yes, I messed it up. And he corrected it. And so we have Clifford Milan with his wrong reason. And we have Shelly Moorhead dedicated his winners to the delegate to Congress. And it ain't easy at all, sir. It ain't easy at all. Good afternoon to you. Welcome.
When I call a party 2, right?
Yeah.
He called a party 6, and then it's like something stopped in your head. You didn't really want to say wait. I think you said wait.
I know, man. I just want to say because I was looking at trying to had write down something on the paper here, and that's what was troubling me. And I remember, saying, wait a minute, the 40, 60 man said, but I had done say, will I come again?
And I've been waiting my bike at home, and I said, because I just really find this question. So, I told the time after I hear who, and then I come down to Solitaire to hear that he gives the winners to the office and delegate to the Congress.
Yeah.
Listen, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As I would say, the reason why I don't listen to this station, yes, it's to get some experience, but I want to know who I be, where my people have come from, and why the people that are the Virgin Islands still in this mental state. You understand? Because from the time the day acquire us,
Yeah.
barters, they just like I would say, every acre was made to produce all the agricultural products they could have made. Made these people here so rich for our ancestors, blood, sweat, and tears.
Right.
Okay? As you regard it, after what they did to William Davis, okay?
Yeah.
Island became what? The goose that laid the golden egg.
Yes.
And the land still here. We're going to have a show just next month, we're calling it Ag Fair.
That's right.
Okay? So, well, you never look for that paper. Can't keep it about this. You remember agriculture. Well, I forget the name, but anyway, the land here, beloved. We shouldn't be big and goats, food goating like what we see here in the island. We could, as I want to know the man name as the Secretary of the Secretary of Interior stated that we could be self-sufficient.
Oh yeah, his name is Brown. Matter of fact, yes. Howard Brown.
Howard Brown, okay.
Howard Brown. And at the time, it was known as the Bureau of Efficiency. The Bureau of Efficiency within the Department of Interior. This is in the year 1930.
Okay, good. Got you. So, again, the delegates of Congress hours will begin a taste of our inside out cultivation. I got it.
I remember. Well said, well said, well said. Beloved, I'll tell you one thing. Yes, and hey, this program and the beloved audience that I am so proud to have. I mean, they like a day like today, they make me so proud, to have this audience and well, I am left speechless. I don't have the words. I don't have the lyrics to compliment you, my beloved audience. So lick your cream, beloved, because abstract ice cream is just so good for your soul. And yes, beloved, as you could very well make out for yourself, this is what we call the last lap. Yes, beloved. And we're looking to get your last lick in the last lap. So, gotta call a hole in. Let us make sure to give him the last lick. Good afternoon. Welcome to you.
Miss, why you messing up things nowadays, man?
Yeah.
We ain't too young or
That's what happened. What they call it. I don't know how to explain that now and with the son. But Super Dad.
The person they say bad but they hear good. The person did say 46 and you asked him 42. And I said, we like come again.
This one, I had to take the one hand myself because afterwards I realized that's a weak man. I say 46, wait here. Because you know what? If it's been on TV, you would have said, oh, I do it to myself. I try to write one thing here while at the same time trying to answer the phone on the other side and trying to keep up with this 46. And I said 46. That's why I asked him about, I said, wait, what did he say 46? He said, no, 42. And I said, so he said 46, you know. Well, what they call it? The son, I total confusion. I said, something here right, Amazon, something here right, but it ended up all good. It ended up all good because, and then Shelly turned around and said, give to the delegate to Congress. So
that is what kind of real boy.
Yes, I.
He was the one that stayed at government house, right?
Yeah, he was the one. Yeah, stayed there for.
Brilliant people.
Yeah.
I hear him cool.
What's happening now? What they call it? I live by myself. I live by myself on my road, Biscuit Road. I have a good paved road who come right up to my house.
That's about the break that road or use that road?
Yeah.
And you go from there to River Top?
Yeah.
I'll not be way know that.
And that's why it goes straight through river all the way, go up the hill and come down on the other side. That's Parasol Hill.
I walk what is the other place? You got part of this Spanish story.
No, man, that's the kind of that's going to Valley, but the hill is Parasol. That's Parasol Hill.
Parasol.
Yeah, that's Parasol Hill. And then when you go down Parasol Hill now, if you turn left, you're going to where the Carambola Hotel thing is.
Yeah.
And if you turn right, you're going into La Valley.
Right. And but you got more than one bridge in a year, man. We got one up by you.
Yeah.
And one below.
That's true.
I remember they are putting a man under the one white thing that fixed us by before I leave farm.
Yeah.
It was coming down.
Right.
With all the letter, paper, money, and all kind of thing. I remember that.
You got good memory, my son.
Yeah.
Right.
I love good people.
Well, you catch me good because today they really catch me good today, my son. They really catch me good. Well, when I got a backing like Super Dad, they were one thing.
Right?
Yeah, so anytime I have problems, I just go straight up, so to Super Dad, that's what's the man. I need my passport stamp because they're in trouble.
Well, again, you were.
What up?
A new passport thing, but they got time. And the last three governors, the young man and Brian.
The last three governors, you passport. Listen, only I was saying.
Yeah, who said that?
Hey, son. You're easy, you know. We're going to send the ice cream to you the next time. Keep going, man. Stay strong. All right. Oh, Lord. Beloved, what a day we will have in here. What a day we will have it, you know. But I got to tell you, it really did. What a day it's been. What a day. What a day. You know. And I don't know what else to tell you, son. Good afternoon to you.
Last lick, Mario.
Last lick, yes. Last lick of the last lap.
Your nephew definitely was that's definitely your nephew with the tongue in cheek. I love it. I love it.
Hey. Hey.
Yes.
Hey.
had a question.
No, go ahead. I was getting ready to say, I couldn't have written a better script.
Right. It was wonderful. Anyway, even after your final conversation, I said, oh my God.
But this thing is true. This is the African humanities, and we don't want to deal it because we don't want to get into the inferiority superiority conversation. But that is something that our representatives in government need to deal with because we are the descendants of enslaved people. And I got to deal with it accordingly or pretend like that happened.
That's right. So listen, I had to remind myself what it is I had to actually having to do with the history question.
Okay.
One question I wanted to find out, and I don't think you asked this question. When America took over the Virgin Islands, what money were we using? Was it the Danish, what, the krona?
The krona, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, where they call it, but remember, but the monies that was used, you know, for the exchange from Danish West Indies to Virgin Islands of the United States, that was gold bullion.
Yes. So when did we start using the American dollar?
Well,
because
I think
we were spending gold bars. We were spending paper money.
Right. Well, so to the best of my recollection, well, hear me out now. To the best of my recollection, I have had that as a question in the history question already. Remember now, this is like 3 years now we're doing this, you know.
Yeah, maybe at the beginning.
I didn't forget. Yeah. But as you say it now, you think we should ask the question again?
I think so, because I don't think people remember the answer. I don't.
Okay, all right. All right. Well, you know, well, this is a new thing because now you got a week to prepare. So you got a week. You got a week to do the research to have the answer for it. But okay, I am going to follow your instructions, and I am going to ask the question next week.
All right, because I need some ice cream too.
You need to have some in your freezer. Tell you it's the best stress relief you can ever want.
I don't eat all of it, sir. I don't eat all of it.
All right, okay.
I need to replenish. All right, my dear.
Take care. All right, good talking to you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, Mr. Lastly,
Come in, man.
You know, again, the land was producing so much, right?
Yeah.
And this is organic food.
Yeah.
This is why admiral was able to avoid being captured for about 11 years, 9 years.
Yeah.
You know, he only found good food there.
Yeah.
Then we had man like Hubert Harrison and Mr. D. Hamilton Jackson. You know, I mean, we could do so much of people from.
Only Caspar Holstein. This is David. This is David Hamilton Jackson. Brother-in-law.
Yeah, that's to them. Yeah. Our passes in the area and been outside there. Somebody not on the fence, so you come out to make sure that whoever you get a job to, you know, complete it. So yeah, we are in chat, but the last thing there here, and all they need to do is bring the equipment, the water, and everything. It's carry our water. We want equipment now.
All right, Boson. All right.
Somebody else a charge of it.
Thank you. All right. Good afternoon.
Hello, yes. Mr. Moore.
Welcome.
All right, I just want to look at the how the drama going on with Denmark and Greenland, right?
Yeah.
I just try to understand this in all your research that you're doing, right?
Yeah.
You could find that America was prepared to do what they claim it to want to do with Greenland right now, even with the Virgin Islands, even when it was in Danish West Indies.
Well, first of all, let me remind you, if you forget it, that in the negotiations for the United States to purchase the Danish West Indies, that Greenland had come into the issue.
And Iceland too, right? Iceland.
I don't know. No, I don't know about Iceland, but I know about Greenland. I could tell you, and the Greenland I could tell you for sure, because it was part of the treaty that said in there that, hey, you know, the United States will recognize Greenland as a part of Denmark.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's in the treaty.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
You know, and again, it is like, well, what happened to that? Well, to tell you the truth, I have not done all the research that I should do to really speak about this confidently. But there is an issue, listen to me good, there's an issue concerning World War II.
Mm-hmm.
You see, there came a time when Denmark and Greenland, you know, came under the political leadership of Germany.
Okay.
And then there was a time when Finland, as I'm recollecting, and that's why I'm hesitating, because it's not something that I remember as vividly as I would want to. But Finland, which is part of the Scandinavian peninsula, you know, actually took possession of Greenland. And it was Finland, as I'm recalling it, and I could be wrong, because that's why I'm making sure I say this a lot, that I have not done any reading about this recently, but I remember this from World War II, and I think it is Finland that saw to it that Greenland got back to being a part of the Danish monarchy. because
Okay.
Denmark is a monarchy. They got king.
Yeah, of course.
You know, so that yes, so Finland returned Greenland to the kingdom of Denmark. That is how I recall it. But all of this happened World War II.
Hold on. You said who is on who to Denmark? Then is that what the word is?
We say that again?
Who is on who to Denmark? Again?
Finland is part of the Scandinavian Peninsula. There's Finland, there's Sweden, there's Denmark.
Okay.
Scandinavia.
Okay, you're going back to Scandinavia. You're going back to the Viking thing.
No. I am taking you to World War II, which is just the 1940s.
Right, okay.
And I'm saying that Germany, remember this World War was against Germany.
Right, right.
Well, Germany had its piece to say about Denmark and Greenland.
Okay.
And it is, as I could be wrong, because I'm saying I am just trying to recall this as you asked me the question. The part that I know for sure, is that in the treaty between the United States and Denmark, Greenland is in that treaty that the United States would recognize that Greenland is a part of the Danish kingdom. That is in there. Then I went on to say to you now, this is in 1917. That now in the 1940s in World War II, you know, that Denmark lost Greenland.
Okay.
And I'm saying to you, it was Finland, in my recollection, that was able to get Greenland back into the Danish kingdom.
Okay. That's okay. But they have the same thing. I want to try to understand this stuff more, right? Because Greenland is not technically white European. They part of the Alaskan and Canadian Native American tribes. Then that's what I'm trying to understand there.
Well, again, yes, this is like with everything outside of Europe. This is, Europeans taking over what is now the United States of America from the Native Americans, with people we call Indians. They took that.
Right.
Alaska.
So Greenland is technically what we will call in America Native America. That's what I'm trying to understand. That's the case.
No, we wouldn't call it America, but again, it would be part of the Western Hemisphere.
Okay. They're not white Europeans. That's what I'm saying. They're not white.
No,
Europeans.
they're not. No, they're not white Europeans. No.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So they're not white Europeans. They're part of the Canadian and Alaskan Indians.
Yes, correct. Yes.
Okay, that's why I'm trying to understand that. So technically, then, if that's the case, then the entire hemisphere from Canada even to Alaska, all the way to North America and Mexico, all of that now is the United States of America trying to conquer. That's what we're trying to get.
Yes. Matter of fact, they're trying to reconquer it, because remember that it was in the same time when we were having our emancipation struggle here in 1848. This was the time when there was war between Mexico and the United States. So that places like, parts of Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, even Southern California, all of that had belonged to Mexico.
Right. And technically was American Indians them then?
Yes.
American.
Yes.
Okay. So they basically the equivalent of what happened in Greenland then. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes, you could say that. Yes, you could say that. Yes, you could say that.
Okay, all right. That's why I'm just trying to understand that. What happened in Greenland is technically the equivalent of happening with the Mexican-American War.
Yes, you could say that. Yes.
Okay, then. That's why I'm just trying to understand that.
All right. Well, you've become quite a historian.
No, I just trying to understand it. Because that's why I was looking at it. I'm glad. That's why I was trying to. You know a lot more they said than me. So I just trying to understand it.
No, well, you say, the thing is, I didn't realize how far back you were going. While you were going back, I was coming forward. So this is how I end up with the World War II and all of this, when actually you were going back to when the Europeans took it over. Because the Aboriginal native people were not Europeans.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moore. That's why I was just trying to understand some of the things that are going on right now. Because you look at history repeating itself all over again.
It looking that way, eh? It looking that way.
That's why I can't even understand this better. Thanks a lot, Mr. Moore.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Take care and keep doing your research.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, beloved, it has been quite an afternoon here. Quite an afternoon, son. And we have learned a lot, discovered a lot, and actually, I can't get away from the fact that I made a big mistake that turned out to be very revealing, in that my mistake turned out to be, a very, very instructive, very trying to find the right terminology here to use, because Shelley really put the icing on the cake, and I don't want to spoil any of it here. But beloved, I was the one who made the mistake, and he corrected it by actually, very cleverly allowing for the office of the delegate to Congress being the winner of the quart of Shanghai ice-cream. And I thought that was a very clever way of Shelley Moorhead actually claiming his winning, because he did in fact win with the correct answer. And our time is up, so beloved, all we can say is that for now, we are very, very grateful, very thankful for the opportunity we've had today. And we say, lick your cream, beloved, because abstract ice cream is just so good for your soul. And always bear in mind that, beloved, there simply is no basket big enough that we as a people, a united people, can't fill up. So I always say, 1-1, we could pull it up just as long as we do it together.